Welcome to Yin Yoga. Let's begin tonight on our backs. Make sure you have some of our usual friends here, like strap, blanket, and bolster. Let's start with supported Shavasana, using the bolster or cushions, or even a rolled up blanket under the thighs. And in tonight's class, we'll be looking at aligning the mind, body, spirit through our practice. So there's always a few general principles to allow that potential to occur. The first one is to become comfortable and relaxed. And in that comfortable, relaxed position, start to notice the sensations you're feeling. Excuse me. Resisting the temptation to analyze your experience. So you're simply noticing a sense of comfort or discomfort. Perhaps you notice coolness or warmness, dryness, feeling the contact of the body on the floor, the bolster under the thighs. And then notice the internal sensations you feel of tension and relaxation. Notice where you feel tension. And invite the parts of your body that feel tense to soften, to relax. The more we relax and let go, we start to come closer to spirit. That sense of ourself that's non-physical. The ancient Greeks considered the breath spirit. So the breath in yoga becomes integral to connecting the body and the mind. Notice how you're breathing. And let each new breath become deeper. Let the breath become slower. So in the end, your body simply is a bag that's having sensations, experience, and the breath is passing through it. And there's a little electrical system of nerves and the brain sparking away inside. Let yourself be very simple as you cross the left ankle over the right ankle. Drop the right ear down towards the right. And feel that stretch sensation in our class tonight as you reach the hand over over the head, feeling the stretch down through that left side of the body. When we increase the sensation like this, there's a temptation to forget the breath. Whenever you remember the breath, come back to the breath, that slow 3-part yoga breath. Let the expansion of the lungs add sensation. So the more time we have our attention on sensation and breath, we start to align with mind, body, and spirit. There's an alignment. We're not ignoring the body, we're feeling the body's sensations. We're not hurting the body, we're staying in that zone of delicious discomfort. And the breath is feeding the cardiovascular system, nourishing the whole body as we stretch, feel, notice, and allow the sensations to continue. Exhale, release the stretch, bring the head back to neutral, release the arms, uncross the left ankle, and come back to Shavasana. And notice that this Shavasana is different from the previous Shavasana. The body has shifted. The sensations have shifted. And after a stretch, there's a sense of relaxation starting to creep into the nervous system. Cross the right ankle over the left. Bring that left ear down towards the left shoulder. Reach the hands over the head, and this time the left hand grabs the right wrist, and then bring the hands back over the head. If the body starts to cramp up in any locations, just adjust the position. Just make an adjustment. Feel the stretch sensation down through the right side of the body. And when you remember the breath, bring your attention back to the breath. And when the right side of the body is wide open like this, imagine you're breathing in through the right side of the body, through that right armpit, through the rib cage, through the right hip, as if the breath is coming in sideways into the system. Each breath expanding and adding sensation to the stretch. And then exhale, release. Unwind, uncross, and coming back to that supported Shavasana. Bend the knees, drag the bolster up towards the buttocks, lift the hips, and bring the bolster underneath. Pick up the left knee and hug the left knee towards the left shoulder. Extend the right leg out, pushing through that right heel, feeling the stretch through the hips, through the hip flexor and through the left leg. Let the right hand grab the ankle of the left foot. So both hands are grabbing the left leg. So it's a kind of cross between wind reliever pose, pulling the knee back, and pigeon. It's not quite pigeon. We're not lifting that left foot up. We're just holding the shin just above the ankle. Bend the right knee and push it into that left foot. Push it into that left foot so you feel a little more sensation in that left outer glute. So you're pushing with that right knee. If you can reach your right hand down and grab the right shin, you can pull it in. And if you cannot reach, consider bringing a strap around the right shin and pulling back on the strap. Some of you might be able to take that left hand through the figure four and clasp both hands around the right shin. Coming into a very deep figure four lock here. Once again, the strap can go around the shin and you can hold the strap. Make sure your head is supported. If the head is elevated for any reason, make sure there's a block or something underneath the head. If the head is on the ground and comfortable, leave it there. And then straighten the right leg and grab the hamstring. So right leg to the sky, toes curled back, still got the figure four. The strap can go around the hamstring if the fingers don't reach. Let your attention come back to the breath. So we work on this mind-body connection every time we come back to the breath. If you do this over and over and over again, many hundreds of times, you'll start to see the power of the mind-body connection through the breath. It's only about practice. It's a very simple phenomena, but if we only do it occasionally, we don't really notice any impact. But over time, it gradually becomes a major part of our mind-body management. Exhale, bend that right knee, release the hamstring, let both feet come down to the ground, and then slowly relax the legs out. Bring both hands over the head and the thumbs gently touching the back of the knuckles on the ground, palms facing the sky. So a very modest stretch, giving the legs time to recover. Reach your left leg out a little further, push out through the heel bone, and then bring your right foot to touch the left foot, so both feet reaching. Reach your right hand a little further away from the head, and then let the left hand come up and meet, be equal to that stretch. And just hold the 3-pond stretch for 5 breaths. Feel how the breath affects the stretch, how the exhale and the inhale both affect the stretch. 2 more breaths. And then gently bring the right knee up and hug the right knee. Squeeze it back. Good firm squeeze here, so you're relieving pressure in the low back and the glutes. And that right thigh. Left leg extended. Push out through the left heel. Slide the left hand down and grab the ankle or the shin just above the ankle, and left hand pulls that in towards your ribs. So again, not quite a full pigeon pose, but it's moving in that direction. When you're ready, bend the left knee and push the left knee into that right ankle. So you're getting a little push from behind now, deepening the pigeon pose. You might be able to reach down with that left hand and pull back on the shin of that left leg. Or you could have a strap around that shin and pull on the strap. The right hand can come through and grab the strap with inside the figure 4, or clasp the hands and then pull back, getting into this little knot here, but the knot is relieving the stress in that right hip. Squeeze a little more for 5 breaths. And straighten the left leg into the sky. Grab the hamstring without losing the figure 4. Curl the toes back on both feet. Push up through the left heel as you pull that left hamstring in towards you. 5, 4, 3, 2, and then bend the knee, dangle the shin, release the hands, let the figure 4 drift back, left foot lands, and then unhook the right foot. Gently stretch both legs out. Reach both hands over the head. Reach the right leg a little further out. Push out through the right heel. Left leg joins, feet together. Right hand reaches a little further over the head, and then left hand matches the stretch. So feel that big stretch through the center line of the body, down through the abdominals and the belly. And then exhale, release, bring the hands back, lift up both knees. Keep the knees wide and hug both knees back towards the shoulders. Squeeze them back. Squeeze them back. Release the low back. Exhale, release the feet. Feet back to the mat, lift the hips, and remove the bolster and roll to one side and curl up into a little ball. Use the arm or the hand that's supporting the head to come around to the back of the head and just pull the chin down so you're tractioning out the back of the neck. So you just feel that little extra stretch from the supporting arm. And then gently press up onto all fours. Have a couple of blocks handy. And bring that left foot forward. And walk the right knee back. Drop the top of the toes. And leaning into your blocks. Managing and controlling the amount of sensation you feel in that back right hip flexor. And just allow the head to pivot and swivel. Just make sure the neck is feeling released. If at any time you want to come down lower, you can bring the blocks lower inside that left foot. You can lean on your elbows if that feels appropriate. Or you could back off a little bit. So play around over time, coming into a little more sensation. If it's too much, back off. And whatever choice you make, when you remember the breath, remember you're aligning the mind-body. So you're not just breathing, you're connecting the mind and the body consciously. That may allow you to deepen the stretch. It may allow you to sustain the sensations you're feeling, And it may tell you to back off the stretch a little bit. So the mind and the body are talking, connecting, aligning, and all you're doing is managing the flow of the breath consciously. Breathing in through the nose and breathing out gently. And then when you're ready, float that left foot back, come onto your knees. Bring the hands down to the mat. And create a little cat and cow here. Notice how your lower back is feeling. Inhale, bring the opposite foot forward. You can use your blocks here. You can walk the left knee back a tad and drop the toenails if you feel that would help. And then you can start to manage the sensations into the left hip flexor by the height of the blocks and how far you bring the body's center of gravity forward or backwards. And then connect with the breath. And there's an old adage in the yoga world that if you can connect with your breath in the marketplace, in the midst of a busy day, while you're at work, while you're shopping, while you're driving, if you can be aligned with your breath and conscious of your breath, the yogis would consider that a sign of enlightenment, or at least a step towards enlightenment. And the real adage says, if you can notice the space between the breaths in the marketplace, then you'll be enlightened. The space between the breaths. So it's a very powerful thing to be conscious of your own breathing in the midst of your work or play. Doing it on the yoga mat is prime time to practice. For 5 more breaths here. Focus on the space between the breaths. Exhale, bring that right knee back to join the left knee. You can move the blocks to the side. A little cat and cow. And then come all the way down to crocodile pose, onto the belly. Now remembering crocodile pose, you want the feet out to the side, Charlie Chaplin feet. Stack the forehead on your hands and bring the elbows forward a little bit to relax the shoulders. And crocodile pose is one of the most
available poses for you to stay with the breath. The breathing experience is very physical when the belly is against the ground. It's very audible. You'll be able to hear your breathing. So the breath is very kinesthetic, very apparent. Use that obviousness to focus on the space between the breaths if you can. Now you can remain in crocodile pose, or you can prop yourself up onto your elbows and have a block handy for the head. Make sure the elbows are close enough so that you can reach the upper arms with your hands. Rest the forehead on a block. Rest the hands on the mat. And relax the front body. Relax the belly. Relax the chest. Relax the head. Let the weight pour down in through the elbows here. And then when you remember the breath, focus on the space between the breaths. Relax into the exhale. And be very passive on the inhale. The belly is still against the ground, so the inhale will be a natural consequence, a natural opening. No efforting needed, just relaxation. And then, if you'd like a little more sensation, lift the head, squeeze the buttocks, bring the elbows out wider, and the hands out wider still. So the hands, usually by this point, are off the mat, the thumbs right on the edge of the mat, fingers splay out to the side. And then begin to straighten the arms into seal pose. Notice the sensations this brings. And you can vary the intensity of seal pose by walking the hands closer to the hips or wider apart to relieve the intensity. Focus on the space between the breaths and notice with all that intensity what it's like to simply bear witness to the breath. Noticing how when we bear witness to the breath, there's an apparent stamina that allows us to hold the pose for longer periods of time. And then gently bend the elbows, stack the hands and bring the knees in closer. Point the toes and relax. Bring the hands under the shoulders, press up onto all fours. A little cat and cow here. And then come back to child pose, knees wide. Let that low back release. Make sure the head is supported, whether you support it on the ground or on hands or fists or a block. Always make sure the head is resting. Five more breaths here in child pose. Gently come up and come onto your side body into fetal pose. Now it doesn't matter which side you're on, we're going to do both sides. You might like to start on the side where you can see me. So the bottom hand supports the head, and the top hand is going to come into a half bind behind the back. So just tuck it behind the back. You could vary the intensity of the half bind by the position of your hand. The closer the hand comes up towards the shoulder blades, the more intense it is. You can vary the intensity anytime you want through the pose. Keep the feet together and open that right knee up into a clamshell position and bring it back. Open it up into a clamshell position and bring it back. Just work that clamshell movement for a few openings and closings. The next time you lift and open, roll onto your back and trap that hand under your back. Adjust the hand if it's too uncomfortable. Keep supporting the head, and then change that clamshell to butterfly pose. Bring the soles of the feet together, and that top knee opens all the way out. If you can, release the hand from under the head. Keep the other hand trapped below the back. If there's too much intensity on that right hip, you can always support it with a block, or you can stand the foot back on top of the other foot into clamshell. So just listening to the sensations you're feeling. And then turn the head to the right. When you remember the breath, bring your attention back to the space between the breaths. When you remember the breath, bring your attention back to the space between the breaths. Inhale ahead to neutral. And bring that top foot back into clamshell and roll onto your side body. Support the head. And then release the bind so that that arm rests along the ridge of your body. Spread the fingers out on that top hand and reach your hand down towards your feet so you feel your shoulder come away from the top ear. You feel that traction out. Your arm is rigid as you reach for the feet. And then we're going to circle this arm in a 360 degrees. So start by bringing it straight out in front of the chest. Pause at 3 o'clock. Let's call that 3 o'clock, straight out in front. And then reach the hand further away from the body. So it's really reaching. Palm is facing the floor. And the arm remains parallel at shoulder height. And then bring it up overhead. And reach overhead. Reach, 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 reach. Feel sensation and stretch in the shoulder joint. Now when we bring it behind ourselves into the 9 o'clock, we're going to roll onto the back here and keep the knees to the left and reach behind you, palm facing the sky. And then complete the circle, bring it all the way back and roll onto your side. Let's change sides. Support the head with the bottom arm. Curl up into fetal pose. The top arm comes behind the back into a half bind. And remember, where you locate that arm is going to affect the intensity on the shoulder joint as we roll onto the back later. Start with some clamshell openings, keeping the feet together, lifting one knee away from the other, and then bringing them back. The next time you clamshell all the way up, roll onto the back, keep the head supported, and come into butterfly. Make any adjustments you need to here.
either supporting the thighs, moving that trapped arm. And then when you can, release the head and let that other arm go. Turn the head to the left. When you remember the breath, focus on the space between the breaths. And over time, you'll start to get that neck. It'll become more and more natural to do this. When it becomes a habit, you're in a very strong position to manage stress and anxiety. Five more breaths here. On the fifth breath, bring the head back to neutral and gently bring that knee back to clamshell, standing one foot on top of the other. Close the clamshell and roll to your side back into fetal pose, releasing that top arm along the ridge of the body. Open the hand and reach for your feet. Reach for your feet, feeling that shoulder release from the neck. And then bring it to 3 o'clock in front of the chest and reach forward away from the body. Really feel that shoulder blade come away from the spine. Reach over the head, 12 o'clock. Reach, reach, reach. And then come behind the back, that 9 o'clock position. Keeping the knees to the right or to the side, but coming onto your shoulders, shoulder blades. You might let the head go here with that bottom hand. Or not. And then finish your circle. Roll back to the side. And then gently press up. And we'll finish with a twist with the lumbar spine. So bring your feet towards the top of the mat. Come on down.
Bring your hands out 90 degrees, palms down, and bring both knees up, off, floating in the air, feet, shins parallel to the ground, and bring both knees to the left. Drop it to the ground, keeping that right shoulder pinned. Now, if your left knee doesn't touch the ground, consider bringing a blanket underneath the thigh so the left knee is supported with a blanket. And then take your left hand onto the right knee, right thigh, and you can pull it down towards the left thigh. So you're using your left hand as leverage to add more sensations if that feels right for your body. And then inhale, release. Come back onto your back. Hands out 90 degrees. Lift the shins. Roll to the right. Right hand can support that left thigh or knee with the amount of sensation that feels right for your body. I'm always surprised myself. I often feel I'm at my edge, and then as I press a little harder, I realize the twist has a little more to go. But we're each going to be in a different place, so it's important to listen to your own body. And then bring that left hand over the head, roll onto your side, fetal pose. And then gently press up and find a comfortable seat. You can be kneeling, you can be cross-legged, you could have your legs straight. Just find that position that feels stable and comfortable. When you remember the breath, stay with the breath. Mind connects with body as you stay with the breath. Breath considered spirit. Yoga means union, bringing them together. When you remember the breath, bring your attention back to the breath. As you bring the hands together at the chest, let the head bow in gratitude for each other's company. Thank you, folks. Namaste.